We're going to take just a few minutes here to wrap up the OSPF section of IP version 6. I do have a couple of videos for you after that on important topics, but they are shorter, so hang in there. And like I said, we're going to wrap OSPF up here. We've got our adjacency between routers 1 and 3. We're just going to go ahead and put the loopback back in and show you what an inter-area route looks like. Because right now, even though we have our adjacency, when I run show IPv6 route OSPF, we get the routing table, which is full. That's interesting enough. And notice it shows you that you have 3 entries in your overall routing table. What would those be right now? They'd be one connected route and one local route. We know a local route is going to be put in at the same time the connected goes in. And we've got that loop back to null 0, which we are not paying attention to right now. But what we are going to do is get an OSPF route in here. But I want to show you a couple of IPv6 OSPF show commands. And the first one is show IPv6 route with the OSPF filter at the end. Because interestingly enough, it's going to go ahead and show you the entire code table. And what tends to throw people the first time they see it is they see the 3 entries part, or however many entries you have here. And it's like, well, where are they? Well, this command, of course, is only going to show you OSPF entries, where it tells you right here, hey, in your overall table, you have 3 entries. So if you want to look at that, go right ahead with show IPv6 route. So an important difference there between the two. Let's go ahead and head over to router 3. And again, one thing we just have to get used to, probably the trickiest thing with OSPF version 3, is remembering that when you're going to add an interface or add a network to your configuration, you don't do it by going into OSPF router configuration mode. You do it at the interface level. So we're going to do that right here with the loopback command. IPv6 OSPF. What comes next? In this case, it's the process number, then the word area, and then the area ID, and that is it. Let's see, we might have gotten a little ahead of ourselves here. Let's see. There we go. Took a few seconds to show up, but we've got show IPv6 route OSPF, and you see this is marked as an OSPF inter-area route OI right there in the middle of all of this. Also notice what the next hop address is. It's the link local address for that particular interface. That's kind of interesting. But then again, that's just how we put new networks into our OSPF config. We do it at the interface level because, of course, we've already enabled OSPF globally. And then we've just got to do it on our interfaces. Just a couple of commands here to get you used to sticking that v6 in there more than anything else. You don't have to look at the database all that often. What you have to do once in a while for advanced OSPF troubleshooting. It's not something to be concerned with right now, except I just want you to notice again that v3. You got to watch that sneaking into your OSPF show and debug commands, because anytime they show you that, you know you're dealing with OSPF for IP version 6. Neighbor we've taken a look at a couple of times. And of course, this can freak you out a little bit, because you look at this and you say, well, what do you mean my process isn't running? You know, of course it's been running and I've already configured a router ID and et cetera, and you start throwing things at the screen. Well, the problem, of course, is you didn't put v6 here on the end of IP. Really got to watch that. I know I've kind of hammered you over the head with that, but it's the trickiest thing to get used to with this new version of OSPF. So if you're running show commands and you're not seeing anything and you've been configuring for a while, practically guarantee it's just that you left v6 out. Yeah, a lot of this looks the same. There's neighbor ID, priority, state, dead time, interface ID is new, and then interface on the end. So everything's looking pretty much the same there. Show IPv6 OSPF interface. This is a good one, and of course it's a great command to start troubleshooting and seeing what's going on, because we know that one from our earlier OSPF studies. This is a great command to get started. It's going to show you every interface on the router running OSPF, what network type it's on, what the DR is for that segment, what the BDR is for the segment, even shows the local address, the link local address, shows your hello and dead time. It's just a great command to get started with troubleshooting. If you want a briefer edition of this, there is an option to put brief at the end, and boy is it brief. I mean, it's really brief. It shows you the area, the cost of the interface, the priority, the state, And that's really about it. I don't run this one terribly often. I pretty much stick with show IPv6 OSPF interface. One more I wanted to show you here, show IPv6 protocols. Because show IP protocols does give you a pretty good amount of information, but show IPv6 protocols is pretty brief in and of itself. It's going to show you what you're running. It's going to show you your interfaces, what redistribution you have going on, and that's really about it. It's a good idea to be familiar with the output of all of these commands. Just watch your v3 there in any debug or output they give you. And of course, this is where I always start any kind of troubleshooting or just information gathering of any kind, is show IPv6 OSPF interface. In the very next video, we're going to take a look at a couple of different topics here. We're going to take a look at something called a unique local unicast. Is that right? That's a weird address name. Anyway, we're going to take a look at that one next. That's an important topic. We're going to look at an Anycast subnet address briefly as well, and a couple other topics before we wrap this thing up. So I'll see you on the next video.